We want the Ravens to succeed. I felt it was the right time to make the change. If not now, when? I guess is what I'm saying. If I'm already here and my gut is telling me it's time, why would I let John rebuild an entire staff? Because I'm going to be sitting here next year saying, what the hell did I do last year? And I made the decision by myself. And they understood. We had already talked about why I was there.
If Tyler Loop makes that field goal, is John Harbaugh still here coaching this team?
For a week.
Oh, yeah, you got to love Steve Bisciotti, just raw and unfiltered. You know, when John Harbaugh was hired by the Ravens, Lamar Jackson was 11 years old, if that. His entire NFL career has been built around his skill set by his head coach, with Harbaugh as his coach. Lamar Jackson has excelled, a 4-time All-Pro. He's eclipsed the most passing yards in Ravens history, not once but twice. He's a 2-time MVP. The resume goes on. Look, there's no doubt Harbaugh helped develop Lamar Jackson into the quarterback that he is today. So how involved will the Ravens quarterback be with finding Baltimore's next head coach? Well, here's Bisciotti again.
Eric made it clear to Lamar that when we get down, you're talking to him, I think he's texting Lamar after every interview, whether it's Zoom or in person. And I think he's getting some opinions from Lamar. I said to Lamar last night, when they call me up from Florida, you better get your ass up here too. Because if you want to do the interviewing, these are going to be full-day meetings like they were 18 years ago. If you're that interested, then we're going to get a schedule. He's going to call me up. He's going to offer you the same luxury. And I said, I hope you take it. And he said, yes, sir, I think I will.
All right, so Schrager said it earlier. They chose the quarterback in Baltimore over the head coach, right? So Lamar Jackson now has got a little more pressure on him regardless of who comes in. How involved do you think Lamar Jackson should be in this process to hire the next head coach?
He should be incredibly involved because it's going to determine the success of this franchise moving forward. You can score all the points in the world like Cincinnati has proven and still stink because your defense sucks. Mm-hmm. So obviously it's a team effort. You need somebody that's not going to be just favorable to you and be just beneficial to you, but it's somebody that's going to prioritize the overall picture, the collective of the team. Who's the man to lead that? Lamar Jackson's got a 26-27 cap hit. Was it $74.5 million, okay? So you're going to have to restructure it to some degree. You're going to have to give him a little bit more money. You're going to have to include it in that contract. That's what Scotty was alluding to and what have you. Derrick Henry and stuff like that. As far as I'm concerned, your offensive coordinator needs to be addressed. Obviously, that's going to be the case because a new head coach is going to probably want his own guy. But you got Monken in there, and there were times on many occasions where we were like, how is Derrick Henry not getting the football? Henry not getting the football. How are you playing the last 12 minutes of a regular season game in the fourth quarter and this brother doesn't touch the football? These are the kind of things that can't happen when you have a Lamar Jackson and a Derrick Henry, who, by the way, is one of the top 3 running backs in football consistently over the last 5 or 6 years. That's who the hell Derrick Henry is. They call him King Henry for a reason. You give that man the football. You find a way. But in the end, what it comes down to is this: leadership. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. When you are the face of a franchise, you should always be consulted because you're the one that everybody's going to point the finger at if things go awry. And I can tell you that right now. And yes, I'll put myself out on Front Street and speak from experience. I know I'm going to take hits. I know people going to blame me if stuff goes wrong and stuff goes awry. So you damn right when a decision is made. Now, I'm not making a final decision. There's executive VPs above me. They make those calls. But I'll be damned if you're going to make a decision and never say anything to me and never consult me, but then come to me to point the finger when stuff goes awry. No, you want me to be accountable? Then be inclusive. And that's what Bisciotti is saying about Lamar Jackson. We don't want to hear your mouth, and we don't want to hear any complaints on anything if you don't want to be involved in this process. And so it's important for Lamar Jackson to embrace what the owner said yesterday with the GM sitting right next to him, because what the owner essentially is saying is, we don't want to hear a damn thing from you if you're not going to be a part of this process of us finding the right man to lead this franchise moving forward. You have every business being a part of this decision, and you should consider it an honor. It is an honor to be a part of those decision-making process when you are talent, because that is a rarity.
Swag?
It would be idiocy for Lamar Jackson not to be involved. And I'm specifically talking to Lamar Jackson. And when all of this stuff started coming out about, his habits and the things that he was doing, I went off about it because the on-field success, what I know from a lot of guys that's around that organization and that franchise is that Lamar is a beloved player in that organization. But if Lamar Jackson doesn't show up for these meetings, I will not defend that. I will call that out. I will criticize him. I will critique him. And I will damn near call him stupid for not being a part of this decision. Your legacy is on the line. And this is going to be a big part of how we identify that legacy going forward. Now, I know you're a two-time league MVP, and I know that you've done tremendous things on the field. We consider you one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, one of the best players that we've ever seen at the position when it comes to what you've been able to accomplish. But if he doesn't get involved in this process heavily, then there will be scrutiny from everyone, including myself at the highest level. Now, here's the thing, too. When we start talking about hiring a new head coach, the other thing that Lamar has to identify as well is it's not just about him. It's also about the players in that locker room and what he understands about what they want in a head coach. Whether that's a guy that's going to be more willing to talk to players and take players' advice, whether that's going to be a guy that has that beautiful line between I'm the leader and the staunch head coach, but I also take into stock what you guys are saying. A working relationship has to always evolve with the quarterback and the head coach. And as much criticism as we give these guys, and rightfully so, that play the quarterback position, they also should have that much ability to have their voices heard in a franchise after they put on film and put on tape and shown that they are that guy. So this is not about if he should be involved. This is not about how he should be involved. Lamar Jackson should be involved from point A to Z. And to your point, Stephen A., not making the decision, but giving input on the final decision. What do you think? What did you get from this guy? What type of feeling did you get? How do you think the players in the locker room who you are close to will respond to this guy being the head coach? And if he decides to take a step away from that process and let others handle it, that would be stupid and idiotic, and it would be something that should be wide open for criticism if he doesn't take part in that. So this is my call out to Lamar, which I truly believe that he's already going to be involved in the decision making and he's going to take them up on that offer. But if he's not, he has no idea the type of criticism that's going to come from that.
If you were to poll 32 different executives, if you were to poll people around the league, I think the Ravens would finish in the top 2 or 3 as best run organizations in all of football. And of course that includes Harbaugh, but it precedes Harbaugh too when Brian Billick was the coach. They have an owner who cares. They have an owner who spends money. And with Ozzie Newsome in the room, which he still very much is, you have a thread line from the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed years to Eric DeCosta, which is more of the Lamar current situation that they're in now where they go to the playoffs every year and they can't get over the hump. What I looked at when Steve Bisciotti said that in the press conference, it wasn't this, hey, we're handing the reins over to Lamar. It was a challenge to Lamar Jackson. This is going to be an 8-hour day. And when we interview a coach, we're not just sitting here in a boardroom and saying, what do you like about football? We're going to take you, and you're going to take us through your scheduling, through your entire staff, your nutrition, how you plan on using a strength coach to make us better so we don't get injured down the line. And that is going to be not just one candidate, 4 or 5 or 6 candidates. We're talking about 8-hour days sitting, absorbing, and then you're not going to be the one making the pick. I'm still making the pick, but we're going to give you a voice. And that is a challenge to Lamar Jackson because what Steve Bisciotti is saying is if I'm flying myself up to Florida, from Florida on the private jet, and I'm going to be doing these interviews for 8 hours a day, I am giving you the grace and giving you the opportunity to do it as well. Do it. Be there. Be a part of this and offer your perspective. What I would add as sort of an insider note and as a reporter, someone who's spoken to people who've already interviewed for this Ravens job in the initial first round, and Steve Bisciotti has not been in these interviews, the questions are in line with what we're talking about. What is your plan for Lamar Jackson? How do we maximize Lamar Jackson in the next few years? how do you work with this team that we have now? What would be an addition that you would add to Lamar Jackson to make us get over the hump? And what's interesting, some of the offensive coaches are interviewing not only for the head coaching job, but they're interviewing for the offensive coordinator job as well. Because this job is so coveted that you might say, we love Cliff Kingsbury, or we love Mike McDaniel, or we love whoever's on the street as an offensive mind. But we think Robert Saleh or Brian Flores or Jesse Minter might be the best head coach. But that offensive coordinator position, who's going to be working with Lamar on a daily basis and getting the most out of him, might be as valuable and as important a hire as the head coaching
Which
job.
means,
And Shrek, you make. Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
which means it's two positions. It's not just the head coach, but it's the offensive coordinator.
No doubt.
Because I'm looking at this right here. Swag, check this out. Derrick Henry, over the last 2 seasons with the Ravens, remember, they signed him to get into the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. 3,516 yards rushing. Number one. 371 more yards than second place Saquon Barkley. 32 touchdowns. First. 5.6 yards per carry. First among running backs with at least 200 carries. 173 first downs. First. What possible excuse do you have not to give that man the football? There is no excuse. Because giving him the football saves Lamar Jackson. Because the more you give him the football, the more you don't have to worry about Lamar Jackson's durability, himself getting himself hurt. Because you know he's going to put himself in harm's way because he's a mercurial player. And he's going to run with the football, okay? We've seen him hobble this year. He's got to get back healthy. You're Lamar Jackson. You got to be all over it. And oh, by the way, Zach Orr shouldn't be that damn safe either. This is the Ravens we talking about. This is Ed Reed. This is Ray Lewis. This is T. Sizzle, Terrell Suggs, and all of these cats. This is the tradition, the history of the Baltimore Ravens. We never questioned their defense. They were 30th in the NFL in pass defense this year.
They were all
30th. They were 24th in yards allowed this year. You got both coordinators who should be huge question marks. John Harbaugh gone, the likelihood is they gone too. So Lamar Jackson, this is an incredibly, incredibly important offseason because he needs to be all over this. Because if he's not, he don't have any business blaming anybody for what happened.
And time's ticking. He's 30 years old.
Yes, and in the way he plays, it's probably 2, 3, 4 years. I would ask you guys this. Flores' name is being mentioned. Disciplinarian, was very hard on Tua. Is that a mix with Lamar Jackson? Is he looking for that, or is he looking for maybe a Cliff Kingsbury?
It's two names for me, Swag. It's two names for me, Swag. It's Brian Flores or it's Raheem Morris. You know, y'all reminded me.
Okay.
Raheem Morris has never had a quarterback. So I trust his ability to relate to Lamar. I trust that. And I think that he will cultivate a relationship with Lamar Jackson, and he's proven he knows enough football to give him a chance to actually have a damn team. The flip side to it, however, is that you better make sure you got the right coordinators with you. Yeah, but I would tell you, Brian Flores deserves to be a head coach in the National Football League. I really, really believe that. The Giants should look at him. Definitely so. A couple other teams as well. But Baltimore, the name Raheem Morris comes to my mind.
Go ahead, Swag. Get in here.
I like both of those names. I like Raheem, obviously. I like Brian Flores, but man, I would be hard pressed to let Robert Saleh out of the building. And I know what people are gonna say. Well, he didn't have the success with the Jets. The Jets never had a quarterback when he got there. He was forced into Aaron Rodgers being his quarterback.
That's fair.
What he's done this particular year with the San Francisco 49ers, like we love to give Kyle Shanahan all the credit.
Right.
And rightfully so. Kyle Shanahan is a phenomenal coach. We've been knowing that for years. Robert Saleh has been as much a part of that success that the San Francisco 49ers
with the
had.
injuries.
Remember this. Kyle Shanahan didn't lose his best players. His best players have been out from time to time. Now, George Kittle is out now. Robert Saleh lost the best linebacker, arguably, in the NFL, and one of the top pass rushers in the NFL, and your first-round draft pick on the defensive line in the NFL. And yes, we've seen San Francisco be bad on defense, but we've also seen them come through in critical situations. So what are we talking about here with the Baltimore Ravens? Because I said this when John Harbaugh was let go on this show, Stephen A. This was about the margins, and could a coach get you over that hump? Could he find those moments in games, in the playoffs, to put you in a situation to make plays? I saw an abhorrent defense, like you mentioned with Zach Orr, and I think Robert Saleh should be a strong candidate.
Right.
Now, that's going to have to be signed off by a lot of people.
Right, got it.
But I love what this dude does as a coach.
Peter, go first, and then I'll finish.
Really quickly, if you bring Saleh, one of his best friends in life from their time together in San Francisco is Mike McDaniel. So you might get a Robert Saleh head coach, defensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel OC. I would also add Saleh and Cliff Kingsbury, very good relationship. So a hire like Saleh doesn't mean you're not going with an offensive mastermind. You can still get one.
I don't want to hear Kingsbury.
Okay.
Let me tell you why I don't want to hear. Because it was real, real nice when Jaden Daniels was there and completely healthy. All right? The minute there was struggle, the next thing you know, they nosedive collectively. It wasn't his fault. They nosedive collectively, and he's up out of there, okay, looking for another opportunity. Nah, let's go to McDaniel's route. Robert Saleh, let's say this about Robert Saleh. I agree with you, Swag. My bad on him, because look at the Jets since he's departed. And by the way, when he was there, their defense was legit. That's why it was such a big deal of them getting Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Because we looked at what he did with that defense, and we said that's a championship defense. So Robert Saleh, and then last but not least about Robert Saleh, we also got to remember he was in the New York market. He handled himself very, very well in the New York market. And I'm looking at that, and I'm saying it ain't the same going to Baltimore. Now, you're going to have expectations, but you got a quarterback like that, you got a running back like that, and his primary responsibility is, first of all, cultivating a relationship with his quarterback, and number two, building a defense. Robert Saleh is far more qualified to do that than most. So Raheem Morris' name should be up in there. Brian Flores should definitely be up there. But the first order of business is Robert Saleh. You're absolutely right. But don't tell me that Brian Flores doesn't deserve a job. That's the legal stuff going on. You know, so in the NFL, you got the Miami Dolphins and the Giants situation. There is no excuse why Brian Flores, with the job that he did in Miami, he was building something there, okay? And they weren't soft and they weren't incapable of winning with 40-degree or less weather, all right? That wasn't Robert Saleh. That was Mike McDaniels. I don't believe in Mike McDaniels as a head coach, but I do believe in him as a brilliant, brilliant offensive mind that should be anybody's offensive coordinator. Robert Saleh being a leader of men, holding everybody